Good morning and welcome back to Spurs Latest. I am your host, Trip Graham. Got so much to get into today, so much going on around the NBA this weekend, so much coming up this week, so much to recap. The best reality show on television is the NBA, and so happy to have here at Spurs Latest. Let's get into it. So first of all, it always had to come to an end. All good things come to an end. The Knicks did snap the Spurs' 11-game winning streak with the win at the Garden on Sunday. It was a tough game for our Spurs. These games are going to happen. 11-game winning streak, top of the NBA this season. I can't be mad about it. It was going to happen on a nationally televised game. It had to happen here. So not mad about it here. The Spurs have pushed themselves into being the number 2 in contention in the West, and we obviously have a gun to our head right now with every team trying to beat us. So that was the biggest thing coming into this game is I knew that, teams are headhunting for the Spurs right now. Really, really headhunting the Spurs. And the Knicks are a momentum-based team. I'm going to get into a little about the Knicks in a little bit, but they are a momentum-based team. And they got the best of us. Victor Wembanyama had a great game, just absolutely dominated, especially in that first half. And a really exciting game out of him. We were playing our old friend Jeremy Sohan on the Knicks. Didn't get to see him much in the game because, it's a lot, like I was saying earlier a few weeks ago. They are such a deep team that it's going to really be hard for him to carve out a role for himself on that team. So really tough, but we got to see all the Spurs definitely love him. You can tell the players do love him. They were giving him handshakes going up to see him before and after the game. And even Kelly Olynyk, as the game ended, was giving him hugs on the court. So great to see Jeremy Sohan. Hope he does great things. Obviously, it's not happening with the Knicks right now, but good luck to him. A couple other things from this game is the Knicks definitely are just such a momentum-based team. Some of the best players on the Knicks, Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson, were really able to carry the load. Karl Anthony Towns, not the best stat-wise game, but really showed the impact he had on the court. So good game from Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know if anybody caught that sound clip of Karl Anthony Towns yelling at Victor Wembanyama and the ref saying he's 7'4", 260. How would I throw him on the court when he got that offensive foul for charging into Victor Wembanyama? I mean, obviously, could have been very much he's fluking that and wasn't really a foul. So, just fun to see out there. They didn't call it or anything. So, all right. So, other things from this game, Julius Champagnie, great game from him. Really happy with his performance out there. De'Aaron Fox had a really great performance. It looked like we were going to make a run in the fourth quarter. It just never happened. The Garden was rocking. Madison Square Garden was rocking. So, Sunday fun day afternoon games are always great. And Knicks versus Spurs in an inter conference matchup. Really fun. Really, really fun. And could that be an NBA's finals preview? We'll get into that. We'll talk a little more about that. So yeah, really fun game from our Spurs, but couldn't get the victory. We'll try to get back on track on Tuesday night when we take on the 76ers. So, 11-game win streak, very happy. We really pushed ourselves in this 11-game win streak to be up with the Thunder at the top of the West. We are, I think, almost 6.5 games down. Now we're only at 2.5 games down. So really good from our Spurs to get back into the mix of it for that first seed, especially in how competitive the Thunder are in the West is. It looks like us and the Thunder are really breaking away from the rest of the bracket. So let's see how it works out. But I have a few thoughts about that in particular. All right. So let's talk about it. Who are the final contenders? And that's the really biggest thing is, who do I see as the contenders and pretenders? So let's first talk about the contenders. I'll talk top 4. So we're going to talk about Spurs. We're going to talk about Thunder. We're going to talk about Detroit. And we're talking about the Boston Celtics. Those are my 4 contenders that I have for this year. If it's not one of those 4, I would be very shocked of winning the NBA Finals. Now, these 4, I could see them being intermixed in getting into the Finals and not playing the other one of these 4 teams, obviously, 2 out of the East, 2 out of the West. But I could see, some other teams sneaking in, and I think those would be counted as my pretenders. So let's see. So, number 1, obviously our Spurs. Our Spurs are a momentum-based team with enough talent that we have just unbelievable talent from top 1 to 9 on our depth chart. Um, with Wemby being the clear number one man, we need to have Vassell, De'Aaron Fox, or Castle really being a number 2 on every single night. We can't not have one of those to be a second number 2 option on any given night. That is one of the biggest things that I'm looking at of our Spurs. The second biggest thing I'm looking at our Spurs is a consistent big man play. So the big man play has to be consistent. We have to have obviously Wemby, but other than that, we need to have big minutes coming off our bench, especially from Luke Cornett for our big man situation. Other things from this. So let's talk about other players, other teams. Thunder are obviously a contender based on the fact that they've been there before. No matter what, it's so much easier for a team to win another championship if they already know how to win a championship. So I see the Thunder getting back to the NBA Finals based on consistency that comes from this team. And, they just got an MVP candidate with Shea, an unbelievable number 2 option with Chet, and Jalen Williams is such a great player. All-around team player. Did anybody check out Jalen Williams' fight with Jokic over this weekend? Crazy happening with them two getting in each other's face. Jokic didn't get anything. He got thrown out of the game. But, no suspension for Jokic. Didn't throw a punch or anything. So that was really fun to watch that competitive play from Jalen Williams and Jokic. All right, from the East, I have Detroit. Detroit I put as a contender is they're just consistent all year round. They know what they're doing, and, they have the core that knows that they know how to win. Cade Cunningham is an MVP candidate absolutely this year and has really pushed himself up the rank of being an MVP candidate in a crowded bunch of NBA candidates. But he has been one of the most consistent players this year. Jalen Duran is an unbelievable big that I could see him being a perennial all-star for the next 10 years if he keeps up this play. But we never know. So we'll see how that turns out. Other things from this, I do have the Boston Celtics as being contenders this year. Absolutely contenders, and I'm not talking about Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown has played enough good basketball to launch that team from being good to great, and they're really turning on the Jets as the NBA playoffs ramp up next month. So we will see how the Celtics turn out. They have amazing number 2 and 3 option, and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. He is a streaky shooter, Peyton Pritchard is. So one of the things I would probably ask of the Boston Celtics is consistency from the Peyton Pritchard position, along with Derek White, is just such a consistent player. So we will see how that turns out. All right, other things I want to talk about. Who are the final pretenders? Now, I have 4 teams also on this list. My list from the West is the Rockets and the Lakers. The Rockets, I don't think will have enough momentum going into the postseason. Now, Dylan Brooks, big injury on the Suns. I don't see the Suns making it. So Dylan Brooks on the Rockets, I don't see the Rockets pushing through to getting over that hump of getting into the playoffs, of going far in the playoffs. Obviously, they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't see them going far. Kevin Durant can only bring that team so far. The biggest things is if this team's going to turn things around. Obviously, Steven Adams is out for the year, huge impact on them. But if Amen Thompson is able to turn on the Jets to get push that team to high gear. He hasn't been that consistent number 2 scoring option that they need on the Rockets, but he is obviously a huge one of the best defensive players in the league, especially guards. Unbelievable guard. So we'll see what their ceiling is. I don't think it's too high. Other is the Lakers. Lakers have they all have all the players. They have other than Luka and James, they have DeAndre Ayton, they have Austin Reeves, they have Marcus Smart. They have what it looks like a constructed team ready for the NBA Finals, but the thing is they don't mesh well together. It's just not a team that has that chemistry that you look for of Finals NBA caliber teams. Now, obviously, they have all the talent in the world. They have LeBron James and Luka, and if you have LeBron James and Luka, you'll never be counted out in the NBA. But like I was talking about those other 4 teams that are contenders, I don't see the consistency out of the Lakers that I do from these other 4 teams this season. So we can see if they're going to be, they can get through to that, push their new limits. All we know is James obviously has a different caliber of playing in the playoffs, but he's obviously getting older in his career, so we don't know if he can push that much as we know James can push in the NBA, especially in the playoffs. Luka is going to have to put his team on the back, so we'll see if he's able to do that. I don't see with this roster construction of where that is possible. Marcus Smart is obviously a championship winning caliber player, with Austin Reeves. But again, I just don't see them meshing all well together. DeAndre Ayton, I will call him for what he is. He is soft. He's a soft defender on the NBA court. He's a soft center, and I would pick 10 centers over him. Where Lakers gave up everything to get DeAndre Ayton, and I don't see he's even worth it. Really, truly, he got mad at being called Clint Capella this last weekend. Dude, you are Clint Capella. Come on, just unbelievable, DeAndre Ayton. And Chris Paul made him look so good. I think Chris Paul made DeAndre Ayton look such a better player than he actually is. Chris Paul wasn't able to make anyone look good, and I think that's what happened with DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul just absolutely made him look good out there. And he's really exposed on defense, and his offensive per game is just not there. Not a huge DeAndre Ayton fan, but all right. And then out of the East, I'm sorry to say it, I think the Knicks are pretenders. I know they just beat us, and you could call me salty for them beating our Spurs yesterday, but I do think that the Knicks are pretenders. They are a streaky team. This was supposed to be the next year. And they can't even beat the injury-battled Celtics to get over in the standings. They can't beat Detroit, who, flip their entire script around. So I really don't see the Knicks as being that contender that a lot of people are seeing. I just don't see it. And the other team out of the East that I don't see making a far run, which was, again, one is supposed to be their year, was the Orlando Magic. Pablo Banchero has been having an average season, and they got stepping stones to get to the NBA playoffs to build on their roster, and like Desmond Bane, but it just has not worked out. It has not played out for the Knicks this year. For the Magic this year. I don't see them making it far in the playoffs when they get there. I knew they will be a playoff team. I just do not see them making it that far. So we will see. We will see. It's just not what is in the cards for the Knicks. They have the roster. They have Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, and a playoff all-star caliber player in Jalen Brunson. I just don't see this team making a far run. And it's going to be very interesting this offseason with Jalen Brunson. If they don't make the NBA Finals, they have to decide what they do with Jalen Brunson's, because that they have to get, that's their ceiling, is trying to get to the NBA Finals. Jalen Brunson is due up for a contract, and he's already said that he wants his team to do right by him. But I believe if they do right by him, it's not going to be good for the team in the long run. It's going to be really hard to build around like a 35-year-old point guard who's making over $40 million a year. It's really hard to build out a roster like that. So let's see. I don't know. I don't feel good about the Knicks' chances coming into this playoffs, and it's going to be a tough offseason when they have to hit reality of what they are going to do with Jalen Brunson in particular. Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns is who I would build around if I'm the Knicks, not Jalen Brunson. I would really, if I was in their front office, I'd be trying to get in their ear and say, hey, point guards are a commodity in this league, but they don't last forever. All right. So let's talk about it. The Spurs, let's move on to the next game. Tough to lose in that fashion, over 25-point loss. And next we took the fingers off the trigger in that game, and that's what we get, what we deserved there. So we take on the 76ers on Tuesday. We take on Joel Embiid, and I look for Victor Wembanyama to put on a absolute clinic in this game. He's not going to have the defense. Joel Embiid can't move his feet on the perimeter, so I don't expect him blocking him. So I expect a lot of running in transition against the 76ers, and it'll be a running gun game from our Spurs. Wemby should be moving the ball. Vassell is going to, the biggest matchup that will be that night will be Vassell on Tyrese Maxey. So really looking forward to that matchup. Really like Tyrese Maxey. I think he's one of the most exciting young guards in the league, and look to him to be a perennial all-star coming up. So very fun player to play against. And look to play the 76ers on Tuesday. Big game coming up. Some of the things I saw this weekend, just talking other media going on in my life. I got to see Scream 7 on Friday night. Enjoyed that movie. You know what you're going to get. It's not going to be a great movie. It was good. I enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. Really played on the nostalgic factor of the 1980s Scream. Courtney Cox is back. Really fun, ensemble of that cast. So, fun watching that. And then last night was the Elimination Chamber with the Randy Orton pulling it off. But the biggest star of the night is absolutely Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, no matter where he is in WWE, he is always getting the biggest pops when he comes out. And that masked man expose of the, oh my god, it's Seth Rollins really popped at the United Center last night in Chicago. But yeah, really fun Elimination Chamber night. Shout out Randy Orton, RKO God, making the win last night. So really fun Elimination Chamber last night. And shout out Rhea Ripley, the absolute goddess of WWE. She just puts WWE on her back when they need it. And yeah, Rhea Ripley fan over here, huge. All right, well, that's it for me today on Spurs Latest. So happy to join you today. I'm Trip Graham, and I'll see you in the next one.